Hello, friends. It's Chloe. I am come back on tonight. Oh, blah, silly tongue. All right, I've come on tonight to do that part 2 of the Book of Shadows Tarot impressions and walkthrough or review. As I mentioned before, I mostly got this kit. It is a kit set of the 2 As Above and So Below tarot decks. I mostly bought it for the As Below, but I have finally gotten to kind of thumb through and get a little bit of an impression on the deck As Above. So Below is the bottom. I'm sorry. So Below is the one I actually really wanted out of this kit. But I found a really awesome sale, as I mentioned. Oh, this is lovely. I do love this book. Okay, so the first part of the guide actually covers the As Above, and it has an introduction, and they mention stuff about Hermetics. I'm not really into Hermetics. The cool thing about the As Above deck is it's supposed to be like for those who are really into Wicca or paganism or kind of the Wicca stream with a bit more. Nice part in the setup is they have these ribbons to help pull the deck out. Works very well. This deck also came with kind of title cards and the Tarosophy little advertisement card. The backs in this one, instead of the olive green border, you have this nice deep blue, almost a gray blue, just a deep blue. It looks a little gray on my screen, but it's just a nice blue. And the same moon/goddess symbol with the pentacle. Yeah. And so this is kind of a non-standard deck. The So Below is basically a wider weight, kind of modern looking deck with some pagan, basically elemental spirits added into the picture and some sabbats. And there's a lot of feasting cards, which makes sense because pagans spend a lot of time with their feasting at each sabbat or special seasonal shift. In this deck, it's very much changed. Some things are really nice. Some things are very, very Wiccan, which is fine, but they just don't pull to me. I use the cosmology of the land, sea, and sky, and so some of the symbolism doesn't really work that well for me. I do feel that it is a beautiful deck. The artwork is a bit different in feel and tone than the So Below, so it really does feel like a totally different deck to me. But you're supposed to be able to kind of think of the As Above as kind of the top part, or the opposite Hermetic messages that compared to the So Below. And the So Below is kind of mundane everyday life, and As Above is supposed to be spiritual life and more. Okay, spiritual energy. So I don't really want to go through the whole deck. There are full flip throughs on this deck. I'm going to just show some of them though. Some of the differences are, say, like, for instance, the titles are different. This one in particular is the Summerlands. It's a very lovely piece. Here is the 4 elements, and it's called the Elements, literally. So there are non-standard titles here. The numbers in the major arcana are the Roman numeral type, and in that cool little goddess / pagan symbol. Wisdom for card number 2. Now, if you know the major arcana pretty well, you can pretty much remember what's going on here, but there are enough differences that this does feel like its own kind of deck, to me anyways, except for when you get into the suits, into the minor arcana. So here is the goddess in a triple setup here, with a hare at the bottom, and the hare being the symbol of the goddess in this deck. We have the god, and there is wolves at his side and a horned headpiece. Actually, I really feel like there's this little V headpiece there, and the horns are literally attached to his freaking head. It's a very interesting, powerful card. The moon in the way it's shown is it's very much pulls on the energies. And it's cool. For the god, or in this case, I believe that would be the Emperor card. Here is the Book of Shadows. maybe for the Hierophant. I have seen a Hierophant represented by people burning books, so something about that rings here. But it is old parchment-y looking journal / Book of Shadows. It's kind of cool if you're into that. Here is the next Sabbat, Beltane, and I believe this is the Lover's card in traditional Rider-Waite Tarot. Here is Transformation. It's a really lovely card. Spell casting has a circle below, energy flowing. It's like shooting rainbow with colors. It's really cool. Yeah. I don't know that I'm going to be using this deck much. If I was using it to teach my sons about spirituality and having pictures to be able to work with, they call this like a loose leaf Book of Shadows in some ways. Here's the Path. Okay, the Path. The Wheel of the Year, so Wheel of Fortune, what have you. Yeah, it is gloss, so yeah, it does kind of shine a bit. It's not high gloss, but here is the Mabon. And I think it's referencing where Mabon was sourced from, like where the story began, why they celebrated, that kind of thing. Here's the Circle, and it looks like they're in like Stonehenge, and there's some elementals around and above the circle. It's really, really cool. Elementals, ancestors within a Stonehenge, someone, raising energy, working with them. Yule, I love this. You have the horned god, you have the other god, the hunter. It's really cool. They're sharing, passing off of the energies. There's a hair in the background showing that the goddess energy is still around. It's really cool. The Stara, and it's funny because she has like a pitcher pouring a rainbow into a basket full of colored eggs. And then there is a little hare or rabbit on the crook of her arm. It's very adorable. And then there's that water energy in the front. So cool. And this is card number 14 of the Major Arcana. So here is Lamas. And it does have like a table with some bread and some things on it. It has Field of Wheat behind. I don't see the scythe. I would really appreciate a scythe if you're going to show me Lamas. It also has a little doll figurine and it looks like a deck of cards just laying on top of the table there. Okay, some interesting symbolism and things going on in the picture. Here is Omens, and this is probably my favorite card in this deck, in the Major Arcana specifically. It has a lightning struck tree, fire starting in the background, a wolf or cat, something. It looks to me like a cat to the foreground, seeing what's happening in the background. And then the moon in the sky that's a bit off colored because of the smoke or something, the clouds. I really like it. There's a lot going on there, and I like the use of color. It's really cool. Here is En Blanc. So this would be possibly the star card or where they're pouring out of the water, and she has a lit up wreath on her head, or whatever that's called, tiara, and they look like little star points above her head. It's really cool. And there's like a heated cauldron, like that's fire underneath the cauldron, and she has herself scooping water there, but then also pouring water back into the flowing area there, like maybe heating up a pond in the winter. I don't know. I mean, En Blanc is a very cool season, so it could be preparing to heat up a bathing site. Yeah. Here we have Shaman or Samhain. Samhain, right? And it's kind of I really love how it shows up so well here. At the angle I'm at, it's a little shiny, but in the front there, you can see the moon above, someone kneeling. Actually, they have like a tarot deck in their hand and some cards that they've put on the surface there. And then there's also a sphere. So it's kind of a cool setup. And then there's some pumpkins in the corner here. Very shadowy. And I feel as if there's like spirits and like a legion of oh, there's some kind of like, what is that? The horseman, some horsemen riding through the night, an old pagan tale. I can't remember off the top of my head. Hunters, can't think of it right now, but it's there. It's pretty emotive. Here is Lilith. Yeah, Litha. Oh, Litha, sorry. Don't know where my head's going. Litha. Nice bright card. Okay. Here's initiation. So here's more of some traditional Wiccan stuff mixed in here. Like the elements card and some other things. Here's the worlds. That's the last card of the major arcana. Now, again, I'm not going to show all the cards of the minor, but here's the ace. It shows the athame within the chalice. So the great rite in symbol. They have a couple drinking, forming a union. It's got some nice way. There's some little spirit allies by this person on card 4. And in her hand, she has like a chalice, and in the other hand, there's like a little fire burning. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if she's like standing over a well, and there's some allies shooting from it. It's kind of cool. Ooh, 5 of water is angry. There's like lightning. Yeah, there's some interesting things going on. Here's some more allies. There are allies in each suit carrying on that having little sprites or air elementals, or in this. So in the waters, it's like sprites. And this is the element card. Here I am going to show you number 10. This is one of the cards that's not really my favorite. I'm not really always enjoying the art in this deck. It's beautiful, but one thing is really cool is the color and depth is there. It just like some of the cards like the Indian goddess or god. Now here we jump to Egyptian. I'm not really fond of jumping cross-culturally. I want a steady theme that's consistent. But, within Wicca, they work with many different pantheons and cultural traditions within their craft work. So it's cool. It just doesn't appeal to me. I like consistency in some things. I don't mind a little diversity, but not mixing of such different gods and things. It's just not my way. Other people mix just fine. So if it appeals to you in that way, it's probably awesome. So in the court cards, this is one of my things. It's beautiful. It's lovely, but it's all females, except for the element page card. It's elemental of water. And then you have the little sprites or water elementals there splashing out of the water. It's very, very lovely. Then you have like a maiden of water, a mother of water, and then a crone of water. All lovely cards. I have no problem with that sense, but I really do prefer to have a mixture of male and female, and all of the court cards are female. And you do get a suit like the pentacles have elementals that are gnomes, so you get some, I suppose you could think of male energy in that case. And they show them in different types of scenery that are land-based. Here's flowers. Very lovely. This one, I like this rocky, craggy kind of look to this one. And the gnomes are still there, part of the background or part of nature. Here's some gnomes by a waterfall for the 5 of Pentacles, or 5 of Earth. In this case, the suits are Earth, Air, Fire, Water, keeping in tone with the pagan and Wiccan theme here. Nothing wrong with that. This gnomes in the trees. Yeah, so there's male energy in the suit part of the cards, the minor arcana numbers. But, oh, and I do like this one. I love that really fat cow there for a 9 of Pentacles. One card that's kind of interesting that I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet, but it's definitely a unique look for a 7 of Earth. This is an underwater scene, and the gnomes are part of the coral or part of the land kind of buildup that's happening in this picture. There's sharks, there's dolphins. I mean, at first glance, I would think this should have been a water card, but it does have the gnomes in it, and the gnomes are the symbol and elemental ally for the suit of Earth. So there you go. So there's evidently land in the sea as well. Here is the 8 of Earth. Normally we think of the 8 of Pentacles or 8 of Earth as, you know, perfecting a skill, learning a trade. And here we have gnomes and a tree and them maybe perfecting flying, getting ready for flight, coming out of the cocoons. We've got a nest here. We've got birds flying all over the place. So a different tone of another sort of learning, I suppose, if you're thinking about staying in related to nature and the challenges they face there, and the gnomes assisting their animal allies. Okay, so we have the Earth card here for the 10 of Earth, and you have gnomes all over the planet, like on the continents, highlighting some of that stuff. Interesting card choice or illustrative choice. And then you have the Elemental of Earth. It's like kicking back, enjoying, playing with panpipe. So it's kind of a nice card. There you go. There you can see it better. All right, and then all females again. You got the Maiden of Earth, the Mother of Earth, and the Crone of Earth. Now, I do appreciate that they're showing an older woman being, you know, age inclusive, if nothing else. Okay, so this is except for 1 or 2 cards in this 1 through 10, all males. Okay, so here is the Ace. All right, and it's like the sun and planets all around. So, okay, with like a spirit. A salamander, perhaps. Yeah, salamanders are the theme in this fire suit. Okay, so then you have a male with some salamanders in the corner here. So this is 2. Then you have 3 with the only female in this suit, except for the court cards. But she's kind of like standing in, can't tell if it's a shell or like a plant, but she has some, and the salamanders are kind of on the edge at different points here. They're just one over here, one over around in here, one over here. It's the 3, so there's only 3 of them. Very beautiful, but okay. 1 female. So here we have the male. I think these are the planets of our solar system, our personal system here. And this one has 4 salamanders, a male, and then the planet above. So again, these are the planets of our personal solar system, or whatever it is in our set of planets. This is the 5 of fire, and I'm really liking this one. It has lightning in his hand, the planet above. There is a raven or a crow there, but there are salamanders by his feet. I'm trying to see where else. Oh, there's salamanders on his hand and on the other handrest. So they're there. Oh, and there's a salamander in the pattern on the planet. It's hard to see because it's a stripy planet. So, but there is a salamander at an angle going like this. Let me see if I can get, oh, it's right around that area there. It's really pretty. Okay. Or handsome, I should say, with these male cards. Here's the 6 of fire. And this is the planet with the rings around it. There's a scythe. And He's also holding kind of a flipping timepiece in his hand right here. It's hard to see in the shadowy artwork here, but it's there. And I do see hints of salamanders by his feet. Oh, actually, possibly one by his feet, but then I see them on the ring. They're lined up on the ring here. There's salamanders walking across it. That's an interesting depiction. Here we have 7 of fire with the, I can't remember which planet is blue-green, but there you go. And an older, oh, and the salamanders in this case are all over in his hair. They're like crawling all over him. So that's an interesting depiction. I'm serious. They're like literally peeking and poking all over his hair. And then we have a very blue planet, and we have, I believe this is like Neptune or something. We have the Trident. We have the watery energy here. This is the 8 of fire. I do like the inclusion. This is probably my favorite suit in the deck. I mean, normally water is, but I'm really liking this one. Not just because of the male energy or anything like that. I do like the inclusion of the planets. I'm liking the salamander energy. Salamanders are on each little plateau around here. Yeah, they're around him. And I'm trying to see where else they might be. I do see a salamander on each little landing here. But I don't see 9 salamanders. I just see 1 on each of the 4 little steps on around the lower half of the cards. So, oh, this one I do like. It's all the constellations. This is the 10 of fire. All right. Oh, and here's the elemental of fire with the salamander surrounded by candles. Okay, and here are your maiden, mother, crone of fire. Maiden. Got fiery tones there. Mother. Yeah. Redhead. And crone. There you go. Crone of fire. All right. Again, I'll just show you a few. Here is air. Well, I like the color tones of air, I will say that. And I like the look of the elementals like this one. I'm not fond of crosses, but I am fond of the elementals floating around there, around that piece. Oh, it looks like they're using this piece of paper, and this is a pendulum. So they're doing a yes-no setup on a piece here. So it's not necessarily a cross. It's a way to read the pendulum on a little chart. And the elementals are helping to move to answer the questions. So the theme here is divination for air and superstition things. So here is someone looking into a mirror or even the ball, and the elementals are there helping. And her reflection is there. And in the reflection, nope, there is a elemental in the reflection, but I can't tell much else. So it's kind of pretty. We have, we have some elementals highlighting some, like a coin on a lucky coin and a 4-leaf clover, and the person's about to approach the area where they might come across these things. The black cat possibly crossing the path, but also having these good luck kind of things to pick up as well. And it looks as if there's like some kind of eclipse happening in the background. Interesting. This is the 4 of air. Palmistry type thing. So yeah, there's a bit of someone studying, and there's a cat on the table. Someone studying, and the elementals are there to assist. There is a yin yang and I Ching coins. And then someone in lotus position meditation. So activities that you would practice within the craft. Or, oh, here's some runes below a tree. All we're missing is a squirrel running up and down the tree here. We do have some of the black crows or ravens, and then some air beings in the tree leaves. Someone reading divination set. And oh, there's a pendulum in the hand of this floating person. And this is the elemental of air. Okay, elemental of air. And then we have the maiden of air and the mother of air. Oh my goodness. Books floating through the clouds. Very interesting depiction. There we go. And finally, last but not least, the crone of air. That one really pops. All right, so went through more of the cards than I intended to. So my bigger thing, there's some really highlight cards that I do like. Overall, I'm not so sure this is a deck I will use that much. But again, if I was using it as a teaching tool, wonderful. Lots of awesome symbolism to work with here. I'm glad that they put the fire and the earth suits 1 through 10 as male energy to offset how much overwhelming female energy runs through the deck, which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it's not like a favorite thing. That's one of the reasons why I don't read my Goddess Tarot. I really like the artwork in it, but it's very much highlights a lot of feminine energy, which is fine. It's lovely, but it's not, I like basically a more balanced deck. There's a lot of information and good things in the book. I haven't read it all yet, but it does explain a bit about the idea of the 7 Hermetic principles. It talks about each, how they've set up the deck. And there's a pagan framework. And they talk about each individual card and what they're depicting there and the meanings. And then there's one point later in the book, there's a reading list to help with connecting with information, studying the suits and whatnot. They have that at a couple different points in this book for helping with understanding some of the concepts they've introduced. Here's another reading list. Starting at the suits. Each suits, when they start, they give kind of an introduction and a little bit of a story of how it's set up and why, what's going on with the suit of water, what's going on with the suit of air, and so forth. And some references and books to read to back up what they've included in here. Same thing with the suit of earth. Let's see. Okay, so when we get to the end of that section, right before we really get into, let's see, where was it? If you go past and you go ahead and get into the As Below deck, right when you're in between the Major Arcana and heading into the Minor, they have this really cool, the As Above and So Below Major Arcanas, and it talks about the Hermetic principle. I go a lot more into this in the part 1 of this, going through these 2 decks. And basically, the As Above, the intent and energy is create the next lifetime. And So Below is to create the next moment. So the As Above are dealing with really big over concepts, and the So Below is dealing with the daily and the moment. And I think as you've seen, it's definitely a more spiritual based deck, and it has almost its own system. Keeping with the tarot, blending in with it, but really having different things going on. So especially with the Major Arcana. So I think this is really well done. Lots of information to work with. I love the box. I think the cardstock's fairly good. In each of the decks, it seems like to be equal. I feel I'll get more use out of the So Below. But as a teaching tool, I think the As Above is wonderful, and there's some artwork and illustrations that I really, really enjoy. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll use it more than I think. But I don't regret buying this. I got it for a really great deal around the holidays, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. So I want to say good night and thank you for watching, and feel free to comment and ask questions. I will be happy to answer questions, and have a great week. And please thumbs up, thumbs down. Share your thoughts if you have it yourself. Which deck is your favorite? The As Above or So Below? I'd love to hear. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.